So, if this is your first time, getting on the Zoom with me, just like I was saying, I'm a big fan of it being interactive. If you don't have any questions, that's absolutely fine. And this really goes for anything, any video that I'm doing. If you have questions, I give you guys the ability to unmute yourself. You just come in muted, but you can take yourself off of mute if you have any questions or whatever. Um, I'm also going to try to make this a weekly thing here, sector review. We just look at the sectors together, kind of see where the money's flowing, where the money is rotating to. As you can see, I got a list to the left. Those are the common ones that I use. And then I gave you some of the specialized ones. It's not my full list, but I gave you some of the specialized ones that I look at as well too. So um, obviously you got your SPY, your QQQ, IWM, the Dow, chips and all the X's, right? But then if you're a small account ticker and you like trading airlines, Jets is a good one to look at. I use cruise mainly for the cruise lines. Carnival Cruise Line, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian as well too. Um, FCLD is a good cloud one. I think we got CRM in there, we got Snow in there as well too. So definitely a good sector to look at. I think Snow is actually might be in a decent area to buy at this point. But I know their earnings was really good, but they still kind of sold off. So we'll see how that goes. Cyber and bugs slowly becoming one of my favorite special sectors. That handles Crowd, Palo Alto, PANW is the ticker symbol. What's the other one? Zscaler. There's another one. Crowd, Zscaler. No, that's it. That's all. That's the ones that I was in. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm gonna go ahead and start off with we're gonna share the screen and then we'll start off with SPY first. And let's go ahead and do that. All right, so just give me 1 second here. Let me get rid of that. There we go. And again, if you have any questions, you can either come off mute or you can chat it as well too. So if you're going to be a swing trader, I suggest these are some of the. First off, can everybody see this clearly? Like it's not too small. If there's any like screen or anything, like let me know. That's too small. I can try to resize it, or if you need me to go one window, I could do that as well too. Everybody good on this, or so I'm gonna take that as a yes then. Oh, okay, good. There we go. Thank you, Krishan. All right, cool. If I pronounced that correctly, hopefully I did. If I mispronounce anything, please don't hesitate to correct me. I'm not a type of person who likes just mispronouncing people's names. All right. All right. So for the sectors, what I like to do is I like to have all of these time frames up, especially as a swing trader. You can start from the quarter, the month, the week. I like looking at the 3 day. It's not a rule or anything like that. I just like looking at the 3 day, kind of see how things are setting up. Um, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Or if that's how it falls, or the first 3 days of the week, you kind of see how things are setting up potentially for a lotto, scenario on Thursday or Friday, or potentially like if you pay attention to the 3 day and see what's going on in the week, you can kind of see, maybe a little bit of a longer term reversal that plays out in your favor from a swing trading standpoint for obviously, and then obviously we look at the day, and then I usually have the 65 up for when I'm during trading hours, so that I can enter into my trades using either the daily or the weekly entries, depending on how much time I have on my contract. All right. So again, you don't necessarily have to have all of these time frames, but I do suggest the quarter, the month, the week, and the day for a swing trader. If you're kind of intraday / swing trading, like maybe you keep it to like a month, 2 weeks or less, then I would probably say, have the month, the week, the day, and then the 65 as well too, so you can kind of see how things are setting up. All right. 3 days, obviously a hybrid. As you can see at the top, I have a lot of hybrid timeframes that I also look at. But for the purpose of the sector review, I'm really just going to be focusing on these 6 timeframes here and like what's going on. All right. Now, as far as the sector review goes, let's just go ahead and take a look at SPY. In the interest of time, I'm not going to mark out every single entry on every single ticker that we look at. Essentially, what we're looking at for SPY is just idea of like what potentially could go on. On the quarter, we have a 2-up bearish candle. But let me actually spread this one out a little bit so you guys can see. All right. So on the quarter, we have a 2-up bearish candle. We know that we get some exhaustion over here on the quarter, as on the earlier couple of weeks of August, and then we've just been pulling back since after making that higher high. On the month, we finally actually took the month down, but it's not currently in force. For my ICTers, I did mark out this fair value gap as well too, and it just looks like SPY is just kind of just leaning up right against it. Not sure if it's going to invalidate yet or if it's actually just going to go through back through the range and balance itself out. But something to take note of is that we have gone a 2-2 reversal after SPY has run up over since March of 2023, right? So for my stratters, this right here is a PMG setup to the downside, right? A PMG setup to the downside is when you have 5 candles in a 5 consecutive candles where the high of the candle is higher than that of the previous range. Basically, each candle's high is higher than that of the previous candle, right? So it made a higher high here, higher high there, higher high there, higher high there as well too. And it has to be for 5 consecutive candles or more. It can really last, I've seen some PMGs that can last a good 9 or 10 candles. So it doesn't matter that it's just at 5. And then I don't want you to think like once it hits 5, then all of a sudden it's going to reverse on you. It's not guaranteed, right? However, with the PMGs to the downside or the upside, you do look for on that particular time frame when you catch a reversal of direction, which could indicate that maybe with the PMG, this can go into effect. And then what will happen is every low of the previous candles going back down will be a target for price action to eventually hit, right? Now, again, I'm not saying this is not a guarantee that this is going to happen, but these are things to just keep in mind. If price does reverse on the month and continue heading down, then you need to mark out these targets as you go down to kind of see potentially where SPY could find some support, or you just want to know where people are taking their profits as well too, because that could be an area of reversal as well. So looking at SPY on the month, we have a we have a 2-2 reversal that's not quite in force, sitting right above the FVG. And then also we have a PMG setup to the downside, and full time frame continuity is in conjunction with the quarter being to the downside as well too, right? So those are things to take into account. Now, when you then zoom in on the weekly, you almost get a PMG setup to the upside, actually. Had this candle closed as another 2 down, you would have got a PMG setup to the upside. And again, a PMG setup to the upside, I'm sorry, one second. Oh, a PMG setup to the upside is just reverse, right? Where you have 5 or more consecutive candles that are where the low is lower than that of the previous range. So we almost had a PMG setup here, didn't quite do it. This one candle, the inside candle, kind of broke that. So with the inside candle on the weekly, though, that signals a potential. We have an actionable signal. We either have the potential to reverse and head back up, which would, and if that does happen, you have to take into account that if we do flip the week back up on SPY this upcoming week, not only is the month still not in force, but we've also taken the quarter back up We've also, excuse me, we've also flipped the quarter green one. That's why I marked out this open of 442.92, right? If we get above 442.92 on SPY, we're flipping the quarter back to green. And then also, if we get above 444.30, then we go back in force on the quarter. So for this upcoming week, those are two, Joe, see, you missed what a PMG. I can re-explain it. That's no problem. Um, where was I? Oh, on the weekly. So if we do flip the weekly and go 212 up, right? Couple things happen. Not only do we flip the quarter back to green, we also take the quarter back up in force. And then we get another 2-2 in force. Not another, but we're back to being a 2-2 in force. And then also potentially we have the beginnings of the secondary triangle of the TTO. So SPY goes bullish, maybe not happening this week, but on the weekly. And I'll explain what TTOs are a little bit later on down the road, but we have our first triangle here. And if we push back up to the upside, we have our secondary triangle right there as well too. And we TTO pretty much above the monthly entry at 459.44. All right. I mean, if that happens, then not only have we taken the month green, but then we've also gone outside month actually, if we get back up above 459.44. So just some things, I'm not saying that they will happen, but these are things that you need to keep in mind. Then when I look at my hybrid, I see that again, bouncing right out of the fair value gap. We have a 2 down bullish candle. Now it's technically not an actionable signal because it's not a hammer. So there is no guarantee that this 2 down candle means reversal. It's potential for a reversal, but it does not guarantee that it means reversal. Same thing on the daily as well too, right? Because you see at the end on the last, well, I mean, it is only the 65, but you see at the end after the run up, we kind of had the sell off. So don't automatically assume with the 2 down candles that you're going to catch a reversal. Does it give us a better chance? I mean, does it give us a good chance? Yeah, right. Especially when you look at the 3-day. This is a PMG setup on the 3-day over here, right? 5 or more consecutive candles that are lower than that of the previous range. So this is a PMG setup over here, but as you can see, we haven't taken out the first target on the 3-day. In order for that to happen, we would need to catch this target up here. That first target right there, which would be 448.11. So SPY would definitely have to really push. Do I see that happening? I don't know. I want to see it get past all this exhaustion right here, basically above 445, if something like that were to happen. All right. So you want to, if you're trading SPY, you want to mark out both basically both sides of the game. I mean, if it's my speculation, I'd probably say, we might, after the sell-off, we probably will catch a little bit of the run-up on Monday and Tuesday with the potential to reverse. But we'll see, because the larger time frames right now are red, but obviously this week can completely flip that back to green. All right. Joe, to answer your question, what a PMG to the downside is when you have 5 or more consecutive candles where the high of each candle is higher than that of the previous candle, right? So you see how over here, this 2 down is followed by a 2 up, right? The high of this candle is higher than that. Then you have a 3 candle, right? And we know a 3 candle is, an outside candle, which means it broke both the high and the low of the previous candle. So if you get a 3 candle here, then automatically the high of this candle is higher than that candle. Then we get a 2 candle, a 2 up candle, which obviously by its name tells you that it broke the high of the previous candle, and then we also get another 2 up. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles in a row where the high of the candle is higher than that of the previous candle. You get me? Okay. And then do you need me to explain the PMG to the upside? Or did you catch that part? I'm going to move on to the cues while I wait for you. Yes, please, as in go over it again. Um, Actually, perfect. So you see this 3-day on the cues right here? starting from this two up, right? You see how every single candle following this two up is lower than that. It has a lower low than the previous candle before it. That's a PMG setup to the upside. When you have 5 or more consecutive candles that where the low of the candle is lower than that of the previous range. So starting from this two up, every single candle going forward is making a new low below that. So you actually have a PMG setup to the upside over here. And I'll get a little bit more deeper into that as far as like the targets and everything. But yeah, that's the PMG setup to the upside. All right. Did you get it now? Do you have any questions? Okay, so I'll take that as a cool. All right, so let's talk about the cues. The cues are pretty similar to SPY, right? You have a two up bearish candle right now. Let's go ahead and mark out the open because we want to know if we, are bullish this month, or excuse me, this week. If we're bullish this week, then we do want to know where we're going to flip the quarter back to green. And we also want to know what takes the quarter back up in force since we're a two up. Okay. Now I did want to add something in here. If you know about the 50% retrace, usually if I see that we're getting closer to the middle of the previous candle, I'll go ahead and mark out the 50% retrace. But considering we're not there yet, I haven't done so. But you can do that at any point where you want to see what the 50% retrace is as well. All right. But again, same thing as what we saw with SPY with the Qs, right? We have 5 or more candles that are higher than that of the previous high. So we have a PMG set up to the downside for the Qs on the month. And then we also got a 2-2 reversal. This one, let's see. $363. Okay, so it's not quite in force, but very close. So basically we go below 363.41 on the Qs, then we take the month back in force. Also, look at your FVG on the month as well there too. So just something, actually you have 2 of them there. And if I'm doing anything wrong ICT wise, because I'm still learning, please don't hesitate to correct me. All right. So you got 2 FVGs there as well too on the Qs. But again, the Qs are very close to just going back in force, in my opinion, on the month or the reversal. On the week, we did get the 2-2 reversal, but as you can see, we got a lot of exhaustion. I was going to say not really towards the end of the week, but we did get exhaustion from the highs. So for me, I'm not really sold on a reversal just yet. For the week, we can probably go, when you have a moment, can you explain in force? Mona, what that just means is, so for example, you see how this 2 up stays above, let me zoom in here. All right, so you see how this 2 up here stays above the high of this previous candle? That's all that means. As long as it stays above the high of the previous candle, then it's in force, right? But as you can see over here on the 3-month, we have a 2 up candle, but as you can see, price action came back into the range below where the entry from the call entry for the quarter is. So because it's below that currently, it is a 2 up candle, yes, but it's not currently in force. In other words, the buyers are not currently in force on this just yet. Well, yeah, pretty much same thing, right? Where price action is not in the, thank you, perfect, Mona. Okay, so as far as, again, the week, got a lot of exhaustion from the upside. So I'm not, going to sit here and be like, oh, we're going to reverse or whatnot. I think we're in a pretty, decent area where it can actually go either way, in my opinion, because on the larger time frames, you're seeing the reversal to the downside. But again, we've kind of, dropped a little bit already. So I'm thinking like there's potential for some corrective activity, maybe back to the upside, at least on the daily, if not the weekly. So we'll see how that goes. And I know, I don't think it's really going to affect too much, but I know that there were some Feds talking over the weekend about one more rate hike, but we already knew that was happening, and I believe the market's already priced that in. All right. If there's no questions about the Qs, just bottom line is larger time frames look like we have the potential to continue bearish unless we take 370 back up and then also take the quarter back up at 372. But right now, larger time frames are looking a little bearish, especially since we got that month flip. But when you look at the smaller time frames, like for example on the daily, we're set up for potentially a 322 rev strat back to the upside. 322 rev strat, for those that don't know, outside candle, or at least the one that I'm talking about, outside candle, a 2 down followed by a 2 up. That's to the upside, and then a 322 rev strat to the downside would just be in reverse. A 3 followed by a 2 up, more than likely a bearish 2 up, and then reversal with a 2 down. All right. 1 second. Sorry, I keep thinking like somebody's sending me a question. My bad, y'all. Okay. All right, so moving right along, RWM. Right. Pretty close to showing the same things as SPY and Q, except the only difference is we haven't taken the month down, but as you can see, very close to taking the month down. So you want to mark out that level of 180.72. If we take that down, we know that we have gone 2-2 reversal on the monthly, right? On the week as well too. We actually on the week, 3, 4, just 4 for now, but if we get another 2 down, then we're working on a PMG setup to the upside. This week, actually, even we get a little bit of exhaustion from the downside, so potentially we could see a reversal with all that exhaustion, but there's no guarantee there because we don't necessarily have an actionable signal on this. I'm just looking at it and seeing like the 2 times that it's giving you exhaustion around the same levels. I believe that would probably be called a double bottom. So there's potential for a reversal back to the upside, at least in the short term. But again, you look at the long term, the month and the quarter, unless we flip the quarter back up, probably going to stay bearish. Let me just take a look at it. Yeah, and then we're working on a PMG over here as well. And then it's exhausting around the same areas that it exhausted last time on the 3-day. So I would not be surprised if we catch, at least some corrective activity back to the upside. Yeah, because when you look at the daily, right, we're coming down. We've been consolidating. So I wouldn't be surprised if we catch some corrective activity. I know that FTC is currently bearish, so you still want to be prepped both ways. But to me, just looking at it, we've been dropping since this high over here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get some corrective activity along the way. If not for, the week, or at least maybe a couple of days in the week. All right. Dow. Dow is still bullish. It's not currently in force on the quarter, but it is still bullish, very close to actually, going bearish though. So you do want to mark out, sorry, wrong place. You want to mark out where the open is. So we know the open of the quarter is 343, right? So if we take the quarter, if we get below 343, the quarter is now bearish. We already know it's not up in force. The month, we only have what, 4 days left of trading in August. So I would also pay attention to this level down here, because if we take the month down more, did I mark that out right? Yes, I did. If we take the month down even more below 343, then we have, there we go. Then we have gone outside month on, we've gone outside month on the Dow. And, then we would have to mark out our targets down here at 327, especially if you're deciding to swing that. And if it closes in force, even better, right? On the weekly, still 2 down. right? We have a little bit of exhaustion, but that doesn't make me want to say like, hey, we're about to catch a reversal. 3-day does look a little bit better for that. So yeah, basically the same thing I was saying. If we do catch a reversal, it's probably going to be some corrective activity. Currently in a downtrend on majority of the smaller time frames and just been getting beaten up. So I would say that would probably see a reversal at least for the next couple of days. And that wouldn't be surprising at all. I would just again just mark out your targets of potential take profit before it reverses and continues to head back down if it does that. Oh, let me get rid of all of that. Oh, yeah, chips to me is kind of reading shorts to me. Here's my reasons why. Um, I mean, starting with the quarter, we got the two up bearish candle. On the quarter, chips has just been running for a long time as well, too. A lot of all-time, well, NVIDIA with the all-time highs as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we catch some correctional activity. On the month, we not currently enforced, but very close to taking the month down. And, honestly, there's a lot of room to the downside after just barely making higher highs over here on the month. So, it looks like we hit an exhaustion point and we're reversing back to the downside. I'm pretty sure if you draw it out, you'll see that monthly broad information. In which case, there's a lot of room to the downside. I'm not going to draw it out, but there is an FVG there as well. And then you have a target even below back down into the 120s if things were to drop in that fashion. Um, on the weekly, right, you get the 2-2 reversal, but again, you see all the exhaustion. NVIDIA had good earnings, right? But you saw exactly what happened and this is part of the reason why we always say like it's not a great idea to play earnings. I mean, some of you probably got out with profit, but hopefully nobody in here, but anybody else in the market that held NVIDIA, the day after reported earnings probably took, pretty serious L because that thing just dropped immediately. So, in my opinion, I'm seeing the exhaustion there. So I'm thinking that we're set up for a 2-2 reversal to the downside on the week. Looking at the 3-day, kind of same thing, right? It's a 2-down bullish candle, but again, we don't have a hammer. A lot of exhaustion from the upside. Same thing from the downside as well, too, but not enough for me to say like, okay, we're going to catch a reversal or anything like that, or feel like we're going to catch a reversal. Again, you still want to chart it out both ways, right? Whatever ticker you decide to zoom in on. But for right now, for me, looking at chips, it looks like probably going to have a really good opportunity for puts. If not already, probably pretty soon. Like I'll probably check out AMD. I know NVIDIA tends to be expensive, but you could check out AMD. You could check out Micron, MU. You could check out Intel. That one's a little bit of a slow mover, so it's going to require some patience. But you could check out Intel as well too, and kind of see what's kind of showing you specifically. Like even when you're looking at the weekly, if you see anything that's exhausting like that on the weekly on one of those ticker, probably a good one to chart out and see if there's a good potential play there. I think I looked just a quick glance. I think it was NVIDIA. I mean, not NVIDIA. I'm sorry, AMD. That yeah, let me clear all that stuff. But AMD, in my opinion, has some room to drop. This right here is a PMG setup to the downside. So as you can see, it's just taken a long time to do it, but it's basically taken out so far. It looks like it's just been taking out the targets of the PMG. So you have a target down here at 93. So I would not be surprised, honestly, not surprised, but it wouldn't be crazy to think of maybe the 100 put or the 95 put as a potential swing. You could probably do, the 100 2 weeks out. Hell, you could probably do the 95 2 weeks out, but I would probably say you could probably even swing it into September, if it continues bearish. But from what I'm seeing here, price action is, just finally taking out the targets. And eventually, if it does, it'll, take out this 80 over here as well too. But again, I think there's an opportunity for NVIDIA. I'm sorry, why do I keep saying NVIDIA? My bad. I think there's an opportunity for AMD to give you that 95 put, probably drop down to this 93 range, maybe 92, 94, somewhere around there. Um, anyway, that's just my 2 cents on AMD. After I had looked at chips last night, um, probably gonna add it to my watch list, to be honest with you. But yeah, where can we find out what tickers are in each sector? Glad you asked that question. I do believe, if you give me just a second, I do believe I dropped an Excel sheet in education where the hell is it? Did I? I mean, you can find them anywhere, to be honest with you. There's actually TradingView ETFs that were put in, was it in education? Hold up. I gotta find, no, TradingView scripts. TradingView scripts will also have the ETFs, but I think there was, did I or did I not? Maybe I forgot. Maybe I didn't put it in here. Yeah, I guess I didn't. I thought I did. Yeah, my bad. I can drop the Excel sheet if anybody's interested in it. It's just an Excel sheet I put together. There's nothing fancy about it. Also in the TradingView scripts, I believe there is, where is it? It's somewhere. I gotta find it. Or if there's, hello? Oh, I thought somebody said something. If there's another admin that can help me find it, it was Joe that was asking the question. Nah, Google, like you could Google it, yes, absolutely. But we actually have this information. I just can't think of which channel right now off the top of my head. But we do have this information in the Discord. Either we have the ETF list for TradingView, and then also, like I said, I could drop in my Excel sheet. It's in watch list. Watch list for sectors. Yes, thank you. Good call. Thank you, Jade. There you go. So yeah, just click on watch list for sectors and you'll see them. If you scroll up, you'll see the sector ETFs. And in TradingView, it'll give you a breakdown of every single ticker in there. Yeah, so there you go. All right, back to this. All right, so that's chips. Let's take a look at materials, which is XLB. Yeah, sellers are in for now, right? We have a not a PMG here, but you got a double bottom exhaustion there, so that gives you a potential for reversal, but that's by strat rules, that's not an actionable signal. You know, even on the weekly, we haven't really taken breaking a lower low just yet, right? To create a broadening formation. So there's still some room to the downside. I would say after this three, if we can break below that and make a broadening formation, get some exhaustion. So there's still room to the downside. I would say sellers are still in. There is again just noting the exhaustion on the week and also on the 3 day and also on the daily that could give you potential for a reversal. Um, but yeah, for me, looking at the larger time frames, we're very close to taking going a 2-2 reversal on the month. Not quite there yet, but we are very close to doing that. Let me see, where are we at in the 50% retrace here on the quarter? Um, well, we approached it and we kind of bounced off of it. So we'll see if this is going to be, coming back to retest, or was that a bounce to reverse off of and start heading back up? Um, the only thing I would say as far as like to the bullish case would be that we're just, we ran down a lot. There has not been any corrective activity um, over the past couple of weeks. So maybe we do get reversal for this week. Other than that, though, like everything's telling me bearish right now. Sellers are they're in control for right now. And the bulls made a really good attempt on the daily and then also on the 3-day and the week to, try to push it back up, but didn't quite win that out just yet. But we'll see. I would not be surprised though if we do get some correctional activity. But again, just keep in mind you'll be going against the trend with that. So make sure you have your market, make sure you have your targets set tight and you follow your discipline and either leave runners or just get out. Just grab your money and get out and just be done with it. All right. So for XLB, some of the tickers, I know a lot of people like, I think it was what, NUE's in there, NEM's in there. I think AA might also be in there as well too. So those are just a couple. Materials actually is, low key a workhorse. Some of those tickers in there, and they may not be the fancy, flashy techie companies, but they'll still make you dough. Let me check if there's any questions. Hold on. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Okay. So that's XLB, XLC, low key, my favorite sector to trade. Let's clear all that up. There you go. So with this sector, though, we have the potential, a lot more room to drop, I would say. Clear this, and then that's going to be the open, right? So pay attention to 64.87, right? We go below that. We've now flipped the quarter to red, right? We flipped the quarter to red. The month is also currently bearish as well too. Not currently in force, but again, very close to. Let me change that to the monthly put entry. Very close to taking it down. 64.53 would be that level if we take that down. And again, you see how much it's been running pretty much since November of last year. I know there's been some down months, but especially here, that's a PMG setup to the downside. So there's definitely room for it to reverse and a lot of room for certain targets to be hit as well too. So for me, looking at it from a swing point of view, the greater risk to reward is actually going to be to the put side, not necessarily to the bullish side just yet. Now, when you look at the quarter again, probably just corrective activity because it's been running for the past 6 months. But yeah, for right now, from what I'm seeing, yes, on the larger time frames, we have potential to reverse to the downside. On the quarter, we got our reversal on the month. A lot of exhaustion from the upside on the week, even though the week ended green. Nice little push to keep it green, keep it bullish. Not really sold on a potential reversal for the weekly. Potentially maybe go inside. If not, then I think we're probably going to go 2 down. With that being said, we did, make a lower low on the daily. We do have a lot of exhaustion, so I wouldn't be surprised if on Monday, we go bullish. on Monday, possibly even Tuesday. But looking at the exhaustion plus this other two down right here, I probably say that wouldn't last. That wouldn't last all week unless we get some really good news, some bullish news, I would say. Yeah. Well, we got the broad, so we can probably bounce off the broad information and get a 2-2 reversal, actually a 3-2-2 rev trap back to the upside for XLC. If not, then I probably see us just bleeding a little bit more, especially if we close below the quarterly open. I can definitely see us bleeding more. Communications, you can look at Meta, you can look at Netflix. Those are probably the more expensive ones. Disney, um, why am I blanking? Sorry, Disney, Verizon. Those are a couple others from XLC as well. So I feel like I'm missing one major one, but shout out to WBD, by the way. Made me some money a couple of weeks ago. Little workhorse. I loved it. But yeah, those are some of the ones that you can look at. Let's look at energy real quick. Energy is showing, probably one of the more bullish sectors. I think what we're seeing is, right, like, remember I was talking about the PMG setups? I'm not PMG setups, just running up, and then there has to be some corrective activity. So I think that's what we're seeing here. That's why we saw the sell-off on the weekly, but I wouldn't be totally done with bullishness on energy just yet, right? We still have the month up, and I believe we're still, no, not quite in force. Just a little bit though. Very easy to take that back in force, but we finally, after a double inside quarter, finally took the quarter up, not in force, but finally took that quarter up. We got an actionable signal on the 3 day. So what we could have is just, again, that corrective activity. And then we got the inside candle that may be able to push us back up to the upside. With that being said, keep in mind inside candles can go both ways, right? It's not a guarantee that because this candle is a bullish inside candle, that does not guarantee that you're going to get a 2-1-2 reversal to the upside. So I don't want you to go in with that type of bias. Inside candles mean consolidation, means that nobody in this time frame for this candle was in control, right? Neither the bulls nor the bears are in control. It's just consolidation. And usually once the decision is made, it'll be a pretty decisive move, either back to the upside or to the downside. Or hell, we could go double inside as well too. On the week, because of the exhaustion, not a guarantee, but we are set up potentially for a 1-2-2 rev strat back to the upside, especially if we get a really good strong opening Monday and Tuesday. As you can see, we almost went outside, but didn't quite. And then the bull stepped in and kind of pushed that back up. So, I would say I'm pretty bullish on energy. What's this? Here you go, Joe. Okay, cool. Can you show me how to set up that 6 chart? I don't know what version you have, but I have the Pro, whatever the highest version is. And so you just go here to select layout and then select, whatever it is that you want. You can do the 6 bar because I think I don't know where it cuts it off at, which tier, but because I have the pro one, I know it's not in the basic, but because I have the pro one, it allows me to do 6 chart setup. So I think honestly, I don't pay it on the monthly basis, but that's one of the things I invested in with TradingView is just paid for it for the entire year and called it a day. The sync layout. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like whatever I do, it shows it on all the other chart. Yeah, yeah. You just gotta turn that on. There you go. Well, you learn something new every single day, right? All right. So yeah, I'm pretty bullish um on energy, right? Most of the time frames are currently in bullish time frame continuity. And so again, if we can get, the week to go 1-2-2 rev strat, then, entering any trade to the bullish side, you're entering it in full time frame continuity because your day will be bullish, your week will be bullish, your month will be bullish, and so will your quarter as well too. So you'll be entering with the flow. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we're bouncing. Yeah, you can draw a broadened formation there. So, bouncing off of a daily broadened formation. Hell, you can even draw it there as well too. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if energy. I don't know what's going on in the news with OPEC. Let me just be clear about that. I have not read anything about them. But from what the chart's telling me, energy's looking pretty bullish. So you got what? You got XOM, you got Chevron. Little known fact: one of our providers actually works for Chevron. You got a workhorse that I love, MRO, Marathon. MPC, VLO is another one. ELG, COP. Those are some tickers to throw out there. DDN, I think, is in the energy sector as well too. So those are some tickers that you may want to look at if you're trying to go bullish. Right now, it looks like the buyers are still here for energy. Just had some corrective activity on the weekly. XLF. So XLF, actually is two up on the quarter, and it's actually enforced, but well, the month is still inside. I know it's looking like it's going to take the month down, but you never know. Right now, it's inside. This candle hasn't closed. So for all we know, that we can, potentially see the bank start to push up a little bit. After the run up here, corrective activity, right? Still making a higher low though on the weekly, right? So we're set up for a 2-2 reversal potentially back to the upside. Give me 1 second, y'all. All right, sorry about that. So this is actually a PMG setup, right? And if you're paying attention to what I was saying, you should be able to identify why it's a PMG setup, right? So that's 5 or more candles. So potentially we have potential to reverse to the upside. Looking at the 3-day, we're currently inside candle on the 3-day, but this candle does not close yet. We still have 2 more days left of this candle. So if we continue bullish, there's a potential that we get a 2-2 reversal on the 3-day. And then on the daily, we actually got what I call in my mind a deceptive 1-2-2 to the downside rep strap, because it kind of like, if you look at it, it's telling you like a 1-2 to the downside tells you 1 followed by a 2 up followed by a 2 down. But the reason why I call it deceptive, because the 2 down is bullish. And again, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to catch a reversal. But I would mark out both ways, and I'll kind of be ready and set for that, because it looks like, based on the exhaustion on the weekly, the inside candle on the 3-day that hasn't closed just yet, and then also how the day closed, we can get that reversal back to the upside. Okay. So a couple of tickers there. Honestly, the ones I like trading the most would probably be like WFC, JPM, and then also Bank of America. But there's definitely others, Goldman Sachs, that you can pay attention to as well too. And again, just make sure you download that sector's watch list so you see all the different banks. I forgot about Citigroup. C is a good one as well too. So this sector I've actually been kind of stalking for a minute now, which is ultimately why I am in some long-term puts for like FedEx, because FedEx is in the industrials. So what we have here on the quarter, it hasn't closed yet, but we've made a higher high, I think all-time highs, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So we've made all-time highs. And one of the things that's always stuck into my mind with Sarah Strat Sniper when I was coming up is that, when we go to all-time highs, this is when, in this case, the bulls have nobody else to really go long against, right? So you'll probably see some profit taking. And that's kind of what I believe that we're seeing right here. So we made the higher high, right? There's our broadening formation. As a matter of fact, this candle hasn't closed. So let me put this here and then take you there, right? So we've made higher highs, and we're seeing the exhaustion, basically what I would say is profit taking. And honestly, when you look at it, the better risk to reward is actually to the downside after making all-time highs. But it's not just that, right? You see that on the quarter, and then also on the month, we just currently went outside month. It's not currently enforced to the downside, but still outside month, you have a FVG here as well too on the monthly. Um, Now on the weekly, we have a 2 down bullish candle, but again, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that we're going to catch a reversal. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And then same thing on the 3-day, we got a 2 down, but again, that's still currently open as well too. Now, I would not be surprised though, looking at the daily, if we do get a little bit of a push. All right, we get a 3-2-2 rev strat back to the upside, but for me, that would be corrective activity, and that's pretty much it. It would just be corrective activity to me after the drop over here. But I do definitely see, looking at the larger time frames, I can definitely see some more downside. So I looked at a couple of tickers in there, but some of the ones that stick out to me is you're going to have your CAT, you're going to have Boeing, you're going to have, like I said, FedEx, UPS, the defensive sectors in there as well too. LMT, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, RTX, NOC, NOC, as well too. Those are definitely some tickers that you can look at. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a 3-2-2 rev strat back to the upside. Maybe to take out some more of the targets over here for this PMG. But again, larger time frame, we're hitting the top of that broadening formation. Yeah, I think over the long term, we're probably going to drop some more, get that corrective activity in on the long term. Tech. Now, if the market starts dropping, this is probably going to get hit hard. But tech is pretty much in the same position as XLI, right? Made a higher high, signs of exhaustion, back to the downside. After on the month, we do have a PMG setup to the downside, and the month is currently in force with the 2-2 reversal to the downside. So, if you're thinking long-term puts, tech would probably be a good sector to look at. Obviously by now I know that's a popular one, so I'm not really going to put out, a whole bunch of tickers, but obviously you'll have your Apple, Visa, MasterCard in there, just to name a few. But there's a lot of good hitters in there. Also looking at the weekly, we did get the 2-2 reversal, but it's not currently in force. Exhaustion from the upside as well too. Like I said, it's the same thing that I've been saying with the other sectors, just because of how much we've dropped on the larger time frames. I wouldn't be surprised if we catch a slight corrective activity and a reversal to the upside. But again, I really wouldn't count that as like, hey, let's go bullish just yet. I would probably just say corrective activity before continuing heading down. So XOK is definitely one that you probably want to look at and just monitor for potential puts activity as well. So let me go to XLP. Right, so XLP has been respecting, excuse me, language, the shit out of the top of this broadening formation, right? Even when you have candles that go above and break above, you see how they still return back into the range. So to me, the broadening formation is still respected. And honestly, like looking at it, right, we're push up, pull back, push up, pull back, push up. We've now made a lower high, and then we got our pullback. So I would not be surprised if the XLP the XLP sector continues to drop. Even a two down on the week as well too. But again, short term, what I would say is because of all the just the beat down that it's been getting, I would not be surprised if we catch a slight reversal. Let me clear all that. A slight reversal back to the upside. Keep in mind you would be going against the full time frame continuity, so mark out your targets, take your profit, and get out. If you're going to do it to the call side. But if you're a swinger like me, I probably wait, for this thing to run up a little bit, and then when it reverses back to the downside, because the larger time frames are currently in bearish time frame continuity, I'll probably jump in and just go with the flow and just ride it, continue to ride it down. Looking at the daily, we do have an outside candle with a two down candle, which then sets us up for a potential 322 rev strat back to the upside. So again, on the very short term, because of exhaustion and running to lows, a lot of these sectors I would say probably might pump in the short term. But when you look at the long term, honestly, to me, it looks like Put City. And I'm not saying this to say like I'm right. I'm always open to a differing perspective. If there's any admins that want to offer a different perspective, you're more than welcome to, because I believe one of the aspects of making yourself a good trader is to get different perspectives and not just learn one perspective from one person. Last but not least, we have utilities. Pretty much the same thing as what I was saying. On the larger time frames, completely bearish, right? We actually got a 122 rev strat to the downside on the month, and then after a double inside quarter, we finally take that quarter down. Can you explain what it means for a candle to be enforced? So Javar, when a candle's enforced is, so for example, this two down right here. Let me clear this. Let's actually make it bigger. Okay. All right, so on the monthly, we're 212 up, right? So let's say you were charting this out to go ahead and play the trade, right? There we go. Okay. So August heading into July, excuse me, heading into August, right? Let's play it out. There, right? So this candle, once it broke the low, really it goes both ways. If it breaks the low or the high of the previous range and stays either above or below, then it's in force. Okay. As long as price action stays below. So if it's to the put side, if it stays below 64.59, then it stays in force. If it goes two down, but then comes back to the range, and let's say ends up at 65, then it is a two down candle, but it's just not currently in force, meaning that the bears are just not in force, right? The sellers are not out there. And potentially what you could have is a setup of exhaustion and potential reversal back to the upside. And the same thing for the bullish side. If this candle were to go to the bullish side and stay above 69.16, then then it becomes an outside candle, but that outside candle is in force to the upside. Actually, you don't really say that for outside candles. You really say it for two ups and two downs. But assuming, let's say this candle never broke the low of the previous range and instead broke the high, then it would be enforced to the upside. Does that make sense? I'm going to take that as a yes. Because there's no other questions. Oh, there we go. Okay. My bad. I don't know why, like when y'all type, it doesn't auto scroll up, so I don't see the response. My bad. All right. So back to utilities. There was an article that I had read about something hitting utilities hard if it were to happen. I got to go back and find it so I can share that with you guys. But anyway, so after a double inside quarter, we're currently two down on the quarter. So, the next target for utilities to take out would actually be this 60.35 is what we're looking to take out. We got the 122 rev strat to the downside on the month. It's currently in force. Still looking good to continue heading down. You do have this as your next target on the monthly as well too at 63.38. Looking at the weekly, we are working on a PMG setup to the upside. So, with this two down bullish candle gives you potential for a reversal, but because it's not a hammer, not really sold on that. So, it could go both ways. What I would say is, be prepared for either way that it goes. I do like that on the 3-day, we're currently have an actionable signal that sets us up after coming off the lows. It sets us up for a 2-1-2 continuation to the upside. Same thing for the daily. But again, you just need to mark out your targets and just understand that on the daily, you have a broadened formation there. So if you do go higher, then you've made a higher high, and then you have the potential for exhaustion on the daily as well too. All right. So that's all of the sectors, the main sectors. So obviously you can there's others that you can go over, but for my sector review, I'll probably just go over those in the interest of time. Are there any questions? All right. We still got like 14 minutes. I plan to stop at 4. If there's any tickers from whatever sectors, let me see, that you want to ask about, you're more than welcome to. Any comments on tickers due to the COVID possible uptick? Pay attention to XLV. Mainly, did I not look at XLV? Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I'm not done. My apologies. Why do I constantly miss XLV? I don't know why. Healthcare. My bad. Um, Healthcare is actually in a pretty decent position on the quarter, right? We went double inside and then we finally took it 2 up, but it's not currently in force. But I like it to continue moving up because you can see from this point it kind of pivoted and started making higher lows. So I kind of like it long term to the upside. The month, even though it's bearish, it'll be very easy to flip that back to green, and it's currently inside, so just consolidation. Looks like it's just hitting a little bit of exhaustion to the upside. So maybe a slight pullback, corrective activity, and pushing back to the upside might be good. Now that COVID thing, I don't think it's going to have the same reaction as the original COVID, but if it could have a bullish reaction, it could be a bullish catalyst for like Moderna and Pfizer, and that may push the sector up. To be honest with you. On the weekly, we went 2-1-2 reversal to the downside, so we can continue pushing down potentially, or with that inside candle and the exhaustion from the downside, it could be a 1-2 rev strat back to the upside. Either way, because you have exhaustion from the upside and you have exhaustion from the downside. To me, it looks like a lot of indecision, even though it's not an inside candle. I know we categorize inside candles as indecision, but to me, this candle just looks like a lot of indecision. Nobody's necessarily in control. On the 3-day and the daily, well, the 3-day hasn't closed yet, but so far the way the 3-day is set up, if we continue pushing higher, we can eventually go outside candle. On the daily, we got a 3-2-2 rev strat to the upside potential, right? We're coming off of the lows of a daily broad formation right here. So potentially we could reverse and head back to the upside. So, if you continue to see like a lot of COVID stuff in the news, pay attention to Pfizer, pay attention to Moderna stocks. I would suggest even charting it out. It may not give you a trigger on Monday, but I would definitely chart it out, be patient with it because it could potentially turn into a really nice swing back to the upside. But yeah, Mona, that's my answer on the COVID stuff. Maybe not have the same effect as original COVID, but it could be a decent bullish catalyst. So yeah, Pfizer, Moderna. Um, Actually, those are the only two that I really remember. I think maybe biotech was or something like that, but those are the only two that I really remember were like did really well from COVID. Any other questions? I missed another one too. What the hell is wrong with me, yo? Ah, XLY. My bad, y'all. I am messing up today. My apologies. Um, XLY is actually in the fair value gap on the month, right? So for XLY, I would draw the 50% retrace on the quarter just to see how close we are and where's the potential area that we could either catch a bounce or just a notable area of, if we continue pushing down. Remember, we're just in the last week of August, so if we continue pushing down this week, September could be a potential for an outside month. Excuse me. September could be a potential for an outside quarter. My apologies. And again, we're currently in the fair value gap, so we have potential to drop all the way down below the 50%, the quarterly 50% retrace, down to 154.15. So XOY is definitely in an area that you can, potentially look at for puts on the long term. Now, on the short term, again, because of, we hit a top, we got to pull back, right? So it looks like we ended up inside on the week. So we have a potential for a reversal back to the upside. Same thing on the 3 day, right? Not quite a hammer, but very close to the hammer. So we have the potential to get a reversal back to the upside. Same thing for the daily, right? We're set up for a 3-2-2 rev strap back to the upside. So what I would probably look at, Ford is in XLY. Nike is another one. Amazon's another one. Target or Target, because it's bougie, is another one as well too that y'all want to look at in the XLY sector. As a matter of fact, I think let me hold on. Let me look at it real quick. I believe Nike is in a decent position. Yeah. Right. So because I remember looking at this last night on the daily. Now looking at the larger time frames is completely bearish, right? Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and be like, nah. But because of all, how much it's been dropping without any real significant corrective activity, you see Nike went double inside on the daily, right? And then we have a gap to fill as well too. So Nike potentially could give you a really nice bullish. Let me actually mark that gap fill. There we go. Nike could give you a really nice bullish move to the upside, back up to 100 to fill that gap as well. Looking at the 3 day, again, the 3 day hasn't closed, but currently inside, that can continue pushing up as well too. Okay. So yes, I know Nike is given bearish looks, right? But just because of that daily right there, couldn't really pass that one up just looking at them. So I may just keep that on my watch list to take advantage of it. Probably grab the Nike 100 call as a weekly. Again, not my norm, but because of what's going on in the market, um, you know, this one I would probably say just get it as a weekly, the 100 call as a weekly. Nike can definitely do that. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out. But yeah, that's XOY in a nutshell. I think actually Ford is, yeah, Ford may also potentially give you an opportunity as well too. Made a lower low on the daily. bounced off the broadening formation on the daily, right? Um, Currently a 2 down candle on the 3 day, but you also have a PMG setup over here on the weekly as well too. And forward on the month is just still in its little box here. I cannot wait until it finally decides that it wants to be out of it. Good Lord. That thing will finally explode when it finally does. But yeah. And then just another thing to note, though, to give you both sides of it, as far as the larger time frames, there's a potential for Ford to actually go outside quarter if it goes below 1124. But again, like I said, you actually have some room to the upside, at least in the short term. Nice PMG, not PMG, sorry. Nice FVG over here on the daily as well too. So there's definitely some room for Ford to do its thing to the upside. It's not a fast mover, but if you probably grab like a 12 call, maybe not a weekly, maybe go 2 weeks out, it's very cheap or should be very cheap. And yeah, ready and waiting for Ford seasonality. Yep. Yeah, I'm thinking October we get the rally too. So I've been slowly building a position for the 13 call in November. But yeah, no, I think the same thing too. I think my thought process is like maybe in September we take that outside quarter, probably exhaust off of that after making that low. Because as you can see over the past other candles, we kind of been exhausted around the same areas. And then if you look at, where is it? I know that's small, but if you look at if you look back historically, like over here, and over here, we're coming back to an area where Ford has, the buyers tend to step in and kind of, bring Ford right back up. Last time Ford, when it was back at this range in the $11 range, Ford ran all the way back up to $15, $16. So, it's definitely still a watch, but as far as a swing trader, we stalk our prey, right? So keep this on watch. And when the time comes, you'll know it. When the time comes, we can go ahead and take advantage of that. But yeah, good eye. Is it Alethra or Alethra? Actually, don't worry about it. I'll get it next time because we're about to end up. But let me know through DMs how to pronounce it properly. Make sure I am pronouncing it properly. All right. If there are no other questions, I'm going to say love, peace, and chicken grease. I will upload this once this converts. And thank you guys for your time. For anybody that's beginners on this, I'm going to do the strat stuff tonight at 8. I'm going to go live on the YouTube. So if you haven't already, subscribed, you can subscribe and get notifications from that. Just look for Zamunda Tensho. If you need a spelling on that, let me know. DM me. I'll let you know. And then we'll go from there. All right. Thank you, guys.